Hello, my name is Crystal Petry, and you are watching another episode of the Crystal Petry Podcast, Season 4. Technology is no longer optional for nonprofits. It's the difference between surviving and scaling. In today's episode, we're breaking down how organizations can stop operating behind and start leveraging the tools that actually drive funding, efficiency, and impact. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by technology, this conversation is going to simplify everything. And Felicia Terry is going to simplify everything for us. Not to put you on the spot, Felicia, not to put you on the spot.
I don't mind being on the spot.
Excellent. Good. So, Felicia, tell us, where in the world are you?
So I am just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, in a town called Antioch. I'm sitting in my home office looking out my back door. I'm surrounded by my plants, looking at the blue sky today.
Excellent. Very descriptive. I feel like I got a really good visual with that. I've been to Nashville, Tennessee, and I love it there. It is gorgeous. I love it there. Okay, so let's hop into this podcast. Why are so many nonprofits still operating like it's 2005 in a 2026 world?
Oh my gosh. That is such a loaded question.
Yes,
and
it is.
First, I got to say, Crystal, whenever I'm talking about technology and things like that with nonprofits, I have to breathe, calm down, because I get so excited. You can see I'm talking with my hands, and I'm so passionate about it because I want organizations to understand that. But to answer your question, I think it's because many nonprofits, I don't think they're just not falling behind overnight. I think they become comfortable over time. And so when you become comfortable, then you think that, for example, particularly when it comes to like technology will solve all of our problems. We just need to get technology. And so you focus on other things. But what they forget is you have to even if you decide to get technology, you have to manage that technology. And you have to give your team support. And so I think just a lot of nonprofits, they're prioritizing their mission over infrastructure. Leadership isn't trained, on technology. And then they're afraid, like so many other people in life, they're afraid of disruption. And so there's so many reasons why I think that nonprofits get stuck. But the biggest thing, it just happens slowly, and it's because they don't think that they should be operating with strategy, and we'll probably get into this strategy in mind for their technology.
What would you say, Felicia, is the real cost of not using technology in your nonprofit?
Oh my gosh, it's so many. I mean, I see it all the time. So there's so many costs. There's a cost of losing good people, turnover, and I see it. And I normally speak from the environment of fundraising because that's my background. And I work with a lot of development offices, and there's a lot of turnover. And so when when they don't invest in technology, then there's turnover, people burnt out. People are frustrated. You have teams working in silos. You have people your team starting to turn against each other. There's so many things that if you just invest, and then there's a whole plan, invest in technology. And when I say invest, not just, get the technology. Mm-hmm. You have to invest in the implementation. You have to invest in the training. Right. But
the maintenance of it.
Yeah.
Yes. If a nonprofit that's listening to you right now, Felicia, if they could fix one thing with technology this year, what do you think it should be?
What I probably say, so it's not just technology. I would first, and what I mean by that is they have to have a strategy. You can't get technology, or you shouldn't, subscribe to technology unless you have, in my case, I call this a data strategy.
Okay.
If you don't have a data strategy, because technology is supposed to help you.
Yes.
But if you don't have a plan to use that technology, how to select technology, how it's all going to integrate together and work together, then really getting technology is not the end result. And so I would say, which is probably not what you were looking for, but I would say it always starts with strategy, your data strategy.
Okay. Do you think that nonprofits are falling behind, or are they being left behind?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I think it's both.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're falling behind because they're not. So there's this whole thing, you probably have heard this in nonprofits about you shouldn't treat nonprofits as a business.
And that is so incorrect.
I know, but you should. And so they're falling behind because they're not really treating their nonprofit as we need to figure out strategy. We need to have strategy for everything. And then we've got to get the right tools and the right people for that strategy. And so I feel like it's both, because then they're being left behind because they're not doing that. Like, so it can't help but be both.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying strategy must come before technology.
Yes, it has to, because then you're just expecting a tool to solve your issues, but you haven't decided who's going to use the tool, who's going to manage the tools, who's how are we going to pay for the tools, like ongoing, or do we have SOP, standard operating procedures, for the tools? It's much more than just the tool, which the tool is important, of course. I love technology.
Yes, I know I do as well. So just staying with technology, what would you say, because it's so many, and I feel like with nonprofits, they're just overwhelmed with the options because it's so much technology out there. They don't know which one to purchase. If you purchase one, do you use the free one? It's just so many options when it comes to technology. What do you think the first, I would say, maybe, if a nonprofit is like, okay, we need to implement technology, but where do they start? Which one would you recommend that they start with?
So specifically, and I will say I'm biased, but I have a reason for being biased.
Okay.
So I know when we talk about technology, it's not just about CRM software. It's about, what they used for email marketing, or what they use for forms or other things. But hear me out. I think it is always your CRM software. That's what you invest in first. But there's a caveat to that. We live in 2026 where CRM software, there are a lot of CRM software out there that are solid in email marketing and form, which is donation, like how you are able to submit, create donation pages that have those functionality. And those are the things that I see most nonprofits, they have they have different platforms. And I'm like, there are systems out there that can do all of them. But you need to obviously know what they are. And here's the other thing. I think nonprofits, a lot of times they choose, like, for example, I'll give you an example, like email. Let's say donation platforms.
Okay.
And there are a lot of and when I say donation platforms, which can be separate from CRM software because they only do forms. They only do donation pages, where a CRM software could house your constituents, all of your constituents, giving history, and house that donation building a capability. But what I find is nonprofits, they go so much into, oh, this donation form is so beautiful. It's so like it looks so good on the screen, and people are going to give because of our beautiful donation pages.
Yeah.
Donors do not care. They really don't. But I mean, they don't. And I have been a fundraiser I have been a development officer fundraiser. I was one for 13 years for capital campaigns. People don't care about that. All they care about is you get their name right. You keep them informed in what you're doing with your organization. And they get an acknowledgement quick.
Right. And I would throw in there, Felicia, make it easy. Make it simple for me to donate.
My gosh, yeah. And that really truly is. And so that's why I feel like I'm probably going to head in a different direction with all of your questions, because it really is keep it really simple and stop chasing all of these different platforms. And they do the same thing with email marketing. Like, oh, we want to use, this because it's so pretty. And sometimes you do need to use that. But the best thing you could ever do is get a CRM software with built-in donation forms and solid donation forms and built-in solid email marketing.
What does CRM stand for?
So I love that question. Yeah. And so CRM stands for Constituent Relationship Management. And I always see on Googling on the internet, people just say CRM, but it's not really just CRM. Like when you're talking about software, it's CRM software or CRM platform.
Yes.
That's my personal kind of thing that I'm like, you can't just stop at CRM, because constituent relationship management, that's all that means. But you want a software or a platform that's going to allow you to manage all of those constituents. And constituents are individuals and organizations. There are people that are your supporters and people that you want to be your supporters. The relationship part, which is where a lot of organizations, they'll choose a system that is, I love this, that is a light. I call it a light, or not a true CRM software, meaning it doesn't have records and doesn't allow you to track all these things about constituents, like their interests, their relationships, all of this. And so they're focusing, they get a system like that, and they don't really have a CRM software. And so they can't do constituent relationship management because they have something that doesn't have all the functionality. So I'll stop. All right, let me calm down.
So would you say, okay, so we've established that you need strategy first, then you need the technology.
Yes.
And the technology that you are suggesting is CRM software that you use.
Yes.
How do you know which, and this is me assuming there's more than one CRM software.
There is.
How do you know which one to use for your organization?
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky. Like now in 2026, there are so many out there compared to when I first started in business, I don't know, 18 years ago. I mean, there were clearly, and there's some that you could eliminate because, we don't have a budget for that.
Right.
But there's so many out there now. But really, what I start with my clients is, if they decide to go through a CRM software selection process with me, we start with your actual needs, like documenting. And it's not just, we're just going to talk about this. We're going to document every single need that we have in the organization for every department, if every department is using the system, and you go from there. And then it's about going out after you have all of that. And then even before you go out, you have to prioritize those needs, because you may have, your priority may be something like, we definitely need integration with QuickBooks. Mm-hmm. That is priority one. So that eliminates all these other CRM software. But then after that, you just have to basically you're Googling. You go to consultants like me. There are some things out there where you can go to platforms and they can give you, you can put in your kind of requirements and they give you what, kind of
like options.
Yeah. But you have to be wary of that too, because a lot of those, a lot of those, they are biased and they don't really, they sometimes, they give products that are not really right for nonprofits. Mm-hmm. I will leave it at that.
You know what? I should not be shocked about this, Miss Felicia Terry, but I am so shocked that CRM software is biased. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's because of the people that are creating the software and coding the software. They put in their bias, whether consciously or unconsciously, they're putting that in.
Yeah, and then the platforms, I can't think, for some reason, I can't think of the names of some of these different platforms that they'll give you all of the, they'll say the 10 best CRM software for nonprofits. And I'll look through the list and I'm like, that is not a system for a nonprofit. That is not a CRM software. And I can just go down and really out of them, and they've not thought about, or they haven't listed other CRM software that are out in the industry that are just as wonderful, and they don't take that much of a budget, and they are great for organizations that have a smaller staff size. It's not going to take more of an investment of configuring the system, and so I can go on and on.
Let's talk about donations, which is so important for nonprofit organizations.
Yes.
Is there, and I'm sure there is there tech tools? What kind of tech tools are there to help nonprofits raise money more consistently? And I will add, make it easier to donate. That's one of my pet peeves, because I donate, but if it's difficult, if it's confusing, if I have to go through 5 pages to donate, I'm not donating. Make it simple for me to give my money.
Excuse me. Yes, you're exactly right. And it's funny, I'm about to work with an organization that I had already, they were a client. I've been working with them on their system, and I happened to look at their website and I was like, oh my God, your website is out of control. Your donate page, specifically your donate page, it has too many things, and you had to click through so many things to get to the actual donate, and you're giving people so many options and things like this. And I'm like, we need to change that. So what I would say is the very first answer to that is you have to have a concise donate page. Mm-hmm. And so with websites, how people can donate on a website, organizations can have a link on their website that's linking them to another donate page, or they can embed the information form from another platform into their website. So the very first thing is, again, strategy. You have to understand how donors want to give. Mm-hmm. And you have to first have strategy around that website so that you're not including all this other information or making people click. The strategy should be, how can we give donors a way to donate without making it cumbersome?
Correct.
Then the
Yes.
second thing you should be thinking about is you should, so if they're donating through a form always, right? The next thing is I always recommend you should have a CRM software that has built-in donation forms. Because if you do, once that person donates you have this fantastic website donate page, it's easy to facilitate, click, and then that information goes directly into your CRM software. Why is that important? Because you don't need to be doing all this manual stuff to export it from your website or another form and then import it. That's labor. That's so much labor. And your people are tired of that. They need to be focusing on, how do I cultivate? How do I analyze the people who are giving, the people that are giving every year or every month? And how do I get them to get more or provide, get a relationship with them and learn more about them? And so it's always going to go back to your CRM software. But in this case, it really does start with your website. Like, you cannot have lots of copy on your website and lots of clicks to get to the donate page.
Let's talk about animation. How does animation make the life of a nonprofit director or volunteer coordinator so much easier? Which I understand is a loaded question because I am a fan of automations.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, okay, if you think about, before even thinking about automation, think about what should automation do for your organization? It should, and I'm a big proponent. I understand that organizations want to move their mission. You hear, these words, move their mission and things like that. But I would like to say organizations, they need to first think about their people. And so the people that are inside the organizations, because I have been in a nonprofit and everybody's working hard. And so if that's the case, then automation should help your people to do their jobs and breathe. I always say breathe, because every nonprofit professional I have met, I feel like they are running out of breath and thrive in their job. And so if you come at it from that way, then what does that mean? What things can you automate to free up time for your people? Automatic thank yous. And the data going directly in your CRM software. And again, why is that important? Because if you have another platform for your forms and the person who has to export the data, then import the data into CRM, that takes time. And the people are not professionals like me, and people like me who do this for a living. And so by that, your energy is spent. You don't feel like analyzing, or you don't have the wherewithal to analyze or to cultivate, because really you need those automations so that your people can cultivate relationships in your organization, whether it's money, whether it's volunteers, whether it's programs, whatever. But that's why you should have automation.
Right. Okay, let's talk about social media, which I feel like nonprofits, it's like a curse word for them, social media. Talk to us about, should nonprofits be using social media? Number one, how do they use it effectively to increase volunteers, to increase donations?
I would say, so if you are living, and I like to say, if you're living, you need to be using social media. And this comes from someone who is not big. If you go to any of I'm not big on social media. But if you're a nonprofit or you're in business, that's just a reality. You've got to use social media. And you've got to use email, some kind of email system. But again, you have to have strategy. You have to have strategy, because what I find is nonprofits, particularly when it comes to social media, they're just posting all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And they're posting to get more likes or to like, so they can have, have a presence, but they don't have strategy around that. And so you've got to think about it as, how is this an extension? How is social media an extension of our work that we are already doing in cultivating our supporters that are already in the system and who we want to be in the system? And so you have to have strategy. You have to think about, like, what do volunteer, if you're wanting more volunteers, what are volunteers needing to see to get them engaged? So that's what you focus on social media. Or what do you want donors to see to get them more engaged? And create just a basic strategy. And I would say you don't even have to be on there, every day, or, you only, and again, social media is not my big thing, but I know enough and have worked, working with a marketing coach right now and understanding not everybody, some people will be on social media all the time. Mm-hmm. Some organization, and that's fine. They may have the staff and the wherewithal, but you have to take into account who's going to be posting all of this thing. Is that the best use of your time too? If you have especially if you have a small staff, then you should not be on social media all the time, because you really need to be combing your system to cultivate people that are in your system for volunteers or donors or what have you. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yes. What role does data play in winning grants and funding?
That is a fantastic question. I would say data, it actually turns your story into something that funders can trust. Mm-hmm. It shows who you're serving, what you're delivering, what results you're actually achieving. Without that data, I tell people, like, without that data, you're asking funders to believe in your work. But with data, you're proving it.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
And so, and I remember, so I feel like I've done all these different things in my life. I remember I used to write grants for like federal grants, which those are the hardest. And then I also used to be a reviewer. And I remember there were strict rules that we received. If they left certain things out, if things weren't capitalized, if they didn't follow the instructions and things like that.
Very specific.
Very specific. That's even before you got to the data.
Yes.
And so, but when it comes to data is everything. And it goes back to, like, how are you capturing data? Are you just like, is it in different places, in different platforms all over the place? And then the person who's writing the grant, or the leader who's writing the grant, then they're freaking out because they got to find the data and all of. Yeah. Data, it's meant to tell a story, but you have to have the data to back it. And you have to know what funders need to see. And funders know when you're fluffing it.
Yeah. They've been doing it for so long, they can spot it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
What is one tech shift that you think could completely transform a nonprofit in the next 6 months?
Tech shift. So there's so many things. So it all depends on so many things. So let's take it from an organization doesn't have a CRM software. Mm-hmm. What's the tech shift they have? I would say before you even, yes, I believe nonprofits should be using a CRM software, but there are more costs to a CRM software than most nonprofits factor in. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just a subscription cost, but it's the implementation cost. And implementation can mean so many things. It could mean to migrate your data or clean your data that you have in Excel or whatever, and then to import it into the system. And that could mean from the CRM vendor or a consultant or what have you. And then the last thing is the training. So training of your staff. Don't think, nonprofit leaders sometimes think that their teams can just figure it out. And that's so, I want to say a horrible way. And that's, you have to think about people. Not all people can just figure it out, technology out. They need help. And so to go back to your question, so for an organization like that, they don't have a CRM software. The first thing that you need to do is, again, strategy. You have to think about, do you have can you come up with the funding, the budget for all of that? If so, then my thing is always a solid CRM software that has built-in donation forms and email marketing. Okay. If you already have a CRM software, and for example, you've had it for years, but your team is not confident about the system, the tech shift. So tech doesn't mean necessarily always purchasing tech. It could mean you need an audit of your system. You need to be able to understand, because if you feel like your people can't trust the numbers, or the setup is not right, or things like that, then you need to reach out to a professional. I'm more than happy to do that, but there's other consultants that do that as well. But do an audit of your system and know that that's going to cost you money. And the audit is going to tell you how you're using the system, if you're using it appropriately, and or if you're using the right system based on, how your organization needs to function. And so it's not always, just purchasing something else.
Right.
And then I would say also, the one thing because I just have written a couple of proposals for some nonprofits, is that they are already using a CRM software. They're doing pretty well in using the CRM software, and they're thinking about using, let's say, another platform for project management. And I'm like, doesn't your CRM software do that? And so it's a shift in, instead of automatically moving to tech and thinking that another platform is going to solve the issue, you've got to understand, like really digging in and understanding what your CRM software can do. But yeah, I always bring it back to CRM software, but because it is, if I think organizations knew how valuable the right CRM software, and the resources that you need to provide your team to breathe and thrive, you would be making, well, I don't want to say making money, but you would be bringing in so much revenue, and your people would be happy. That's the thing. Your people would be happy. But yeah, I'll stop there. Sorry, I can go on and on.
I'm just like all in. I'm tunnel vision on everything you're saying. Okay, so talk to me about nonprofits and AI. How do they use AI or incorporate AI? Should they be scared of AI? That was a lot of questions.
Yeah. No, I love AI, but you have to train AI, and you have to know what AI to use. So here's what I would say. Like there are CRM software that have AI built in, which is fantastic. And that can help you. Because AI is supposed to help you streamline, right?
Yes.
But there's also one thing that I also found that I was doing with a client of mine is nonprofits. They typically want to jump and say, oh, we want to use prospect research platform. We want to purchase that. Those things are not cheap. and they haven't set up the strategy. They don't even have a fundraising plan to like know who their supporters, currently supporters, how they're going to engage them, all of this stuff. And so one thing that we've started using AI with is with their current supporters or people that are in their system. And so I would say a nonprofit, yes, if you have a CRM software that has that capability, but what do I mean by that? When I say use AI to do that, type in the person, the information. Like, so take a list of people from your CRM software, and you can do this one by one or a list, and you can, let's say, type in their information. But also you need to have that some of that information in the CRM software, like maybe who their spouse is, who their children, because AI is going to go through the whole internet and find those people. And what you want to do is you are trying to find what their interests are, not just how much money they have or what kind of house they live in or things like that, or but you want to find their interests. So a lot of times you can find who else they give to, how much they give to other organizations. Children, biggest thing. Children, do the children go to private school? Why is that important? As a fundraiser, I remember thinking like, oh, the more you know about the individual, because if the child is going to private school, then that helps you gauge how much you can ask them for. Or if the child is going, I'm thinking of Cornell, they have kids in college and their kid is going to Cornell. You have to know all of that. And so the purpose of AI is just to help you know more about your donors. Now, yes, to do tasks and things like that. But I would say nonprofits should also use it to find out more about their donors, because it's going to scan the whole internet and find that information. And once you find that information, here's the key. Now put it in your CRM software.
We always bring it back to the CRM.
And then help and use that as a gauge. And then you start running reports with this information. And that's how you because you have to know, it's just like friendship. In order for me to cultivate a relationship with someone, to continue to cultivate a relationship, let's say I met somebody, I belong to an organization called The Table. I met somebody new yesterday and I'm like, oh, I want to get to know them better. And so, yes, they may tell me some information, but then I may also Google information about them, and I may I have my own personal CRM software, so I'll put it in there. And then when I talk to them next, oh yeah, you mentioned about your son, because I may have forgotten to write down what their son's name is, but I Googled it or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, how's your son? You said he was going to, and I'll use Cornell. He's going to Cornell. People love when you remember things about them.
They do.
Just like donors, supporters, they love that too. And so in order to cultivate relationship, you have to know about the people and you have to be able to act on what you know before you can even ask them to give.
That's the first time I have heard of using AI like that. That's such a great idea and a great use of it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you won't find every single person, but I mean, even if the person is not and the person doesn't have to be a millionaire or anything like that, because think about most of our lives is in the internet, the internet. And so if you can give the internet as much, or give the AI tool as much information as possible, like spouse information, where they live, or, country or whatever, then it's most times, I would say 7 out of 10, it comes back with this information that you can, dig in deeper about. I would say do that first before you even, and of course, always having strategy, but before you even decide to start purchasing some of these systems when you don't even have the money to do that.
Right. Okay, well, Miss Felicia, as we get ready to wrap up, I have a couple more questions for you. What is your intention in this space? What is your goal in this space?
Oh, I love that question. I have to take a breath because I I feel like there's so much I want to tell nonprofits and I want them to do. And I used to think it was about nonprofits as organizations and their missions. And yeah, it still is. But my intention really is to help organizations set up and use their CRM software in a way that allows their people to breathe and then actually thrive in their work. If more individuals that worked in nonprofits were able to breathe in doing their work, and it has to be it belongs to providing them with the resources that they need. Mm-hmm. Most people that work in nonprofits, they're not out to like make millions of dollars or right. They're not like, oh, always the salary is the top thing. They obviously want to believe in the nonprofit, but they also need to be felt that as valued and supported. And how do you support people? By giving them the resources. And so that when I think about that, because I hear a lot, people tell me, like nonprofit professionals tell me all kinds of things. I learn about their personal lives. Mm-hmm. I learn about what's going on in the organization, what their leaders are doing and, not doing and because people tell me all this stuff and I'm not empathetic or a hugely empathetic person, but I'm like, it really does make me like, I don't know, just empathize with them, I guess is the best word, is because they're doing all this, work, but then they're not being given the tools to do their work and to breathe. So that's really, give organization structure, clarity, help them build processes, use their CRM software, and ultimately allow their people to breathe and thrive.
Okay. And my final question for you, who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast? But you have to help me get them on.
Oh, I can do that. Yeah. So I will tell you, and I know your podcast is much more than just about nonprofits, but I have this fantastic person. His name is Dennis Ring. He's a new friend. I think last year we became friends. We've never even met each other, but we've talked. We've been on Zoom and things like that. But he is fantastic. He is a cultivator of people, and I think one of the things I learned in development and fundraising is how to cultivate people. Okay. You can't do fundraising without knowing that. And so his background, he has 30 years in fundraising and in development, a lot of years, but he is a great cultivator. And so he could talk about not just cultivating and fundraising, but cultivating relationships in your life. He tells me about the fantastic relationships he has. He treats it as, relationship cultivation as like a goal, like as a job, as a goal. And so I love, he's funny and he's a wonderful person. So that's who I would.
Yeah. Well, we cannot wait to have him on and teach us all how to cultivate relationships, because I feel like so many people need to learn that.
Yeah,
so many people need to learn that.
It's hard, but even just the smallest things that you do, and it's all about, you have to know people and remember things about people. And how do you do that? Some people, it's easy for them to remember, but other people like me, I'm like, I got to document this in the system.
Yes. Well, Miss Felicia Terry, thank you so much for being on this podcast. You have been amazing.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I love the questions, and I love opportunities like this. I just want nonprofits I just want them to get it, and I want them to thrive in what they're doing and their people to thrive. And so I appreciate all of the work that you're doing, and I love this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And to my community, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get Felicia's podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.